Welcome. We're going to have a great show today. We're going to have Rob Mander from Junior Electric. He's a Delaware County guy. He takes care of all your lighting and electrical needs. So tune in for past shows to raceonmainstreet.com, and we'll see you out on Main Street. Knock it off.
Good morning, Philadelphia, and thanks for joining us for a great show of Race on Main. You can check out all of our past episodes at raceonmain.com. There's some terrific information there, so please stop by anytime. It's always open, raceonmain.com. We have a great show today, informative show. We have Rob Mander from Junior Electric in Glen Olden, PA, out in Delaware County, where Stu and I grew up. And he's been helping people as an electrician light the way for almost 20 years now. So we have a great show. It should be pretty informative. But
I still live in Delaware County.
You still do? That's right.
That's right. I live in media.
That's right. So
the heart of Delaware.
Wait, you haven't been introduced yet.
Sorry.
All right. So, and as always, I'd like to introduce my side help, my apprentice.
Oh,
there you
that's
go.
Timely.
There you go.
Yeah, you're fired.
There you go. That's right.
Or nowadays it's you're fired.
No, it's you're terminated.
Terminated.
Yeah.
Right, you're terminated.
Yeah. So it's gone from bad to awful.
that's just,
so,
anyway,
the side help apprentice.
The side help apprentice is here. He still lives in Delaware County.
Yep.
Where it's very. I mean, God bless you. You got out.
Nah, what's wrong with Delaware? Delaware County's terrific.
No one ever leaves. It's
well, that right.
It's
not from
amazing.
a bad standpoint.
No, it's
but
great.
Just from a standpoint of it's like a vacuum.
Well, look, both. You're there forever once you're there, and it's a great place to live. I mean, I'm 12 minutes from an international airport. Mm-hmm. I'm 20 minutes from 4 major sports teams.
Yep.
It's the same 20. I'm the same 20 minutes from.
But here's the issue.
A symphony orchestra and
you're only 5 minutes from mom and dad.
That is yes. that is true.
So with that,
just remember, Mom, he said it. Okay, I'm fine being the one you call first.
Yeah. When
you can't dig out of the snow space or whatever.
That's right.
It's good. It's
all strategic.
Anyway, speaking of fake news. So Main Street is talking about fake news.
Yeah, I mean, it's a topic.
I think the most important thing about fake news is defining it.
Well, that has not quite exactly happened
yet.
You're
I mean,
right.
I was listening, and people who watch the shows in a row are going to say, on the way down, the president was speaking from the White House today.
Right.
And he was talking, one of the things that he talked about was fake news. Now, he always refers to the New York Times as the failing New York Times. Now, I don't know if the New York Times is failing or not, but I know that a lot of newspapers are having a lot of trouble these days because there's so many other media outlets.
Right.
I suspect the NewYorkTimes.com is not failing.
And I would imagine the New York Times journalists are not dumb.
Or making stuff up. I
would think not.
You have some amount of integrity from this institution that's been around since the mid 1800s or whatever it's been, and it strikes me that the idea of suggesting that the story on page 1 was entirely made up as if it were written by Lewis Carroll,
right,
is
silly.
Right. So the idea that because I think when the president and other people now refer to fake news, they're not talking about the Daily Show or Samantha Bee or us.
Right.
For that matter.
Right.
I mean, we're fake journalists.
Yeah.
We do interviews, but we're not really.
Wait, you're calling me a journalist, a fake journalist, but you're still calling me a journalist? I'll take it.
Yeah. So, but he and people in the administration and people in government are referring to what we have always considered to be, at some point 10 years ago, the media became a bunch of wingnut bloggers,
right?
In their parents' basement making up stuff, or if not making it up, then certainly printing whatever they wanted without corroborating it.
Right.
I think that there's still some amount of investigative reporting that's going on at some of these outlets.
I think there is, and I think people need to know where to look for it. So, like, the idea for me, fake news is, and I feel like this has gone, like, where has Walter Cronkite gone? Where somebody I see a fire, I'm going to report on the fire. When I find out what the source of the fire was, I will let you know what it is. Now it's just a whole lot of people voicing their opinion that my concern is kids are taking on as fact, when really it's just
kids.
Well, where anybody. So one of the things that I had read about regarding the fake news were elementary school teachers trying to figure out how to combat that. And they were trying to teach kids. There was one article I read, it was about like a new Simon Says game as to sort of like what's the real news, what's not the real news. But like many years ago, they used to call propaganda. Now it's not so much propaganda in that but yet it is. It's like
well,
it's
you
like
referenced
a
Walter
sheep in wolf's
Cronkite,
clothes.
and Walter Cronkite was at the sort of the early end of my consciousness as a personality. He was at the end of his career when I was a kid and just starting to be interested in news. And it strikes me that it was always a big thing at the networks, CBS, NBC, ABC. And before, and I don't want to lay the burden on Fox. I'm just saying that when I was a kid, there were only three.
Yeah.
Fox didn't come around until I was in college. It was always a big thing about how the news departments of those organizations were separate entities. Right. They were not subject to to the shareholders, to making the shareholders money. They were a necessary evil, in fact.
Right.
But they brought viewers and yada yada. Now it seems to me that the major news outlets, whether it be the networks or Fox News or MSNBC or CNN, who I know Al Jazeera's out there and America One, and there's a bunch of others that are stepping up. It seems to me that you talk about propaganda. They all have agendas. CNN's the liberal, MSNBC's the liberal media, and Fox is the conservative media.
Right.
I mean, it used to be Walter Cronkite got out there and he said, "This is what happened."
Right, and that's my point.
Okay.
The house is on fire.
Yeah.
This is what caused it. They're putting it out now. There's no fatalities. Let's move on to the next piece of information that is actually happening.
And keep in mind, I spent in the middle there. At some point, I got a degree in education, and I went and I taught for a year or two in an elementary school, and I will never forget having to. I showed we're using the internet as a tool in education now, and I had to teach an entire lesson on penguins. Because we happened upon a video where a whole flock of penguins took off and flew.
I remember you talking about
that.
Okay,
and now I got to teach about penguins. Okay, because if it's on the internet, it must be true.
Right.
And at least, hopefully, I can make the kids believe that
penguins.
I know more about penguins than
than some internet show where they.
So it's not just fake news. It's
wait. So what you're telling me is penguins don't fly?
Penguins do not fly. They do not fly, and they do not live at the North Pole.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that's true. That's true. Although the flying thing, I could see. I could see someone making the mistake of living in the North Pole,
but polar bears don't live at the South Pole.
That's right. That's right.
So that's and that's not fake. That's
no,
true.
I understand.
Yes, okay.
I get it. I've seen it.
Speaking. Well, I'm not sure how to transition this from fake news and penguins to Rob Mander, but we're gonna.
Rob Mander, Junior Electric.
Rob Mander at Junior Electric. Rob is a Delaware County guy. He was educated and grew up in Delaware County. Graduate of Ridley High School. Let's go Green Raiders. Let's throw that football around. And Rob has been working as an electrician in and around Delaware County for the past 20 years or so. So Junior Electric, I don't want to get it wrong, helping people light the way for almost 20 years. So
that was my little slogan.
Oh, that's your line? Well, guess what?
I thought that was cool.
You can have that one for free.
You can have it if you want. So.
Rob, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show. We appreciate it. So. Tell us a little bit about it, the trades. Okay, the trades they like any other business, they evolve, they change. Things go on there that are sort of, specific to the industry. Why a trade? Why I hear lots of different people talk about different reasons as to why they've gotten into it, but you seem to be passionate about it. So, what brought you there?
I was always more of a hands-on kind of worker and learner. So, growing up with my dad, I always was right next to him with tools and, sink went out, we got to get some hand tools and fix this or whatever it may have been around the house. I was always very interested, more than reading a book pretty much sometimes. So I mean, easy way to put it, but yeah, it just stuck with me. I always enjoyed it, and trade's a good thing to learn. I was always taught that by my grandfather growing up, that if you have a trade, you have not almost guaranteed work, but you have a good chance of growing your business.
Yeah, basically exactly. Creating a circumstance where you can earn a living.
Yeah,
sure.
Not just pretty exactly.
Now, was your grandfather and your father, were they tradesmen also? Did they? Is this a family tradition?
Yeah, my dad's, he was a maintenance. He ran buildings. He was like head of maintenance for different school districts.
Right.
And my grandfather was a roofer and pretty much a jack of all trades kind of guy, and another person that was real good with pretty much any kind of
So
tool.
when did you start, like when in your life, like when in your school life did you say to yourself, okay, this is the path I'm going to take?
Probably close to 9th grade or so.
Oh, really? That early?
Yeah. I started working started working summers with my uncle, who had his own electrical business at the time. And, he said, give me a couple days a week when I was off school or the weekends or whatever it may be. And that was really what got the ball rolling for me. And then, like I said, once I got into high school, I had the opportunity to do a VOTEC program, which is just going to trade school for the second part of the day. And
so let me stop you there. So how does that work? A VOTEC program. So you would go to school in the morning, like
from like 7:30 whenever school started, 7:45 till probably like 11.
So like the English, the math, the science, that all got taken care of in the morning.
Yep.
And then you left the campus, the school, and went to, but it was still Ridley High School, right?
No, it was actually in Aston.
Okay.
Right off 352. So we either drove if you had a car and a license at the time, or they bused you. So once you got into your junior year in Ridley, at the time you had an opportunity to, if you had a job, they will let you go at 11 o'clock. You go from 7 to 11, 7:30 to 11. Okay. Or if you wanted to go to this trade school, then you do that for the second part of the day, which I chose to do that because I was interested in.
You wanted to?
Yeah, I wanted to learn and get the education while I could and while I was still in school, and that was
so. And then I have a question though. When you went to VOTEC school, which were very popular, I think they may have, dropped off a little bit, but they seem to be surging back, is what I'm reading. When you went, did you learn more than just being an electrician? Were there other areas of trades that you were looking at? Or did you sort of like pinpoint in on something relatively quickly?
I pretty much pinpointed on just the electrical aspect of it. It taught me a little bit more than just actually doing the actual electrical work. It taught me code stuff, which is, reading a code book, which is, 2,000 pages thick, and, learning your way around that code book. So if you get into a situation where you have to look into it and follow up on something, make sure you're doing it right, that, you're not spending 4 hours when it takes you 5 minutes to read a paragraph or something like that,
So so when you're at the VOTEC situation, you're like, what I'm trying to get at is, like, you hear about all these people that go to like all these schools where they pay to learn how to be an electrician. So you were able to take advantage of the public education and become an electrician while you were in high school. So when you graduated, were you an electrician?
I want to say I was like a full electrician. There's always things to learn as you go on. You could be doing it for 10 years, you could be doing it for 40 years.
Of course.
There's always different ways of doing things or different methods of doing things and stuff like that.
Is there like a licensing thing?
Yeah.
Like you become a licensed electrician when you graduated from high school?
No, you have to. That's more like with your state or your city, whatever you plan on working in. Like the city of Philadelphia, you have to have a special license, electrical license. Where you got to go and take a test, and you have to get a certain percentage right in order to then to say it's okay for you to work in our city.
Right.
Same thing with Pennsylvania, Jersey, and Delaware. You take a test, And if everything goes well, then they give you your license, and then you're a licensed electrician. A lot of guys that might not do electrical work aren't considered really licensed electricians. They might be working under somebody else's license or something like that.
So I have a question about that. So it sounds like, or it seems like just from living in the real world, there's a good amount of that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like to really find a skilled person that has those credentials, those are pretty important questions I would think
Oh,
to
yeah.
ask if you were a consumer. Do a lot of people just gloss over that, or like don't even think to ask, or do you?
I guess depending on the situation and the job and stuff like that, a lot of people do want to make sure that you have your insurance, so God forbid something happened. But you do get a good handful of customers, and I don't mind. I enjoy when people ask me, do you have a license, insurance, and proof of everything, this and that? I'm happy to show it to them anytime. But yeah, it's definitely something that a lot of people do, is they get working under other people's licenses, and they can consider themselves electrician. I mean, they're still electrician,
Right.
But they're not really technically a licensed electrician. So if God forbid something happened in somebody's home and they're doing a Saturday side job, they could really be in a world of trouble.
could be a
God
problem.
forbid something
Sure.
happened. Yeah.
Right. Or the homeowner could be. That's why
yeah.
those are good questions to ask.
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to circle back and give one more plug to public education, because that's an issue right now.
Yeah.
Also, and I
Yeah.
mean, if you're, we have these public education circumstances, these institutions that create circumstances where people can learn. It's not just can actually learn a skill right in the public education setting. That's something that's valuable, and that we should continue to,
Well, it's funny
prop up and take care of.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because we're public education, public school kids. My kids, your kids.
Oh, we went to Marple.
We went to Marple.
So we're kind of enemies at the same time as being friends.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Well, they were much better at football than we were.
Probably still
we
are.
we were just horrible.
Yeah. So, but I remember, and you'll know this name, Sam Alfonsi,
Sure.
a big educator in Delaware County,
Absolutely.
tutoring service.
Sure.
He's somewhat well known as a result of that. And I remember him talking, I had him for English actually when he was still a teacher at Marple. And I remember him saying, listen, and this was his advice to everybody, go out, take advantage of the VOTEC program. And this is the reason why. Go learn something. Even if you're headed to college, go do the VOTEC program. He said, so many kids that I've tutored and have met with and things like that have gone through the VOTEC program, then they come home for like winter break, and they have like a good job that they can go to, summer
sense.
breaks, things like that. Even while they're in school, they can be working a little bit, doing something that really what he was getting at, that pays more than going in delivering pizzas or something like that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And no matter what, you have something to fall back on. And I remember one person, just one, taking his advice. I won't say his name, I still remember him.
Oh, wow.
And he became a bricklayer. Like, he learned that skill as to how to,
Sure.
and he did that all through college. It paid for college, and then he went on to a different career after that. And I remember seeing him not that long ago saying what fantastic advice it was to take that. That he really, it was a great experience all the way around, kind of thing.
Absolutely. So let's talk history. So you come out of high school, and let's hear the history of how you got to where you are now.
I graduated high school. I started working for an employer in Delaware. I worked with them for probably 5 years or so, 5 to 6 years, and just doing new construction, old work stuff, a little bit of commercial. They did usually a lot of more high-end, these custom homes and development, stuff like that. That was more their cup of tea. And then stuck with them, and then I bounced back and forth to like 2 or 3 more employers. A couple local electrical companies that needed a guy to help fish wires, whatever the job might have been. And
When did you decide to go out on your own?
probably almost like 3 years or so ago.
Okay.
I didn't just make the jump. It's a pretty scary thing, especially when you have bills and family depending on.
Absolutely.
You want to make sure you get all your ducks in a row. Make sure I have a truck. Make sure I have my insurance stuff set up. Make sure I have work, which pays the bills. So I mean, it's definitely you have to make sure timing's got to be perfect for everything. Well, for me, it had to be anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you got all your ducks in order and you set out on your own.
exactly.
And I have my question towards that though. Are there any 3 years later? Are there any regrets? Are you glad you did it? Is it something that you know? I would imagine. I see you smiling. You take a lot of pride.
Yeah,
it's
I
your
do.
name on the door, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I do absolutely 100% take a lot of pride in everything I do. I don't regret nothing. It's a lot more involved than what I was used to. I was used to waking up, doing my 8-9 hours a day, and then going home, doing whatever. Now it's not so much like that. It's like, go do the 8, 9, 10 hours of work, look at jobs, do the paperwork, do the books, do all the fun stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But my end goal is to have something for my 3-year-old son to look forward to, and hopefully that he'll follow in my footsteps, and maybe me and him could work side by side one day, or he could have it when when I can't do it no more, or whenever I retire, if I retire. But yeah,
That's a great goal. Well, look, that's the American dream, right? Is to have your name on the door, pay the bills, and then have your kids, take over.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, we were chatting before, and you described the story, and of course, as a kind of a fun situation, you're an electrician. So what's the biggest shock you ever,
that 277 volt I was mentioning a little bit ago. Some of that commercial buildings, they use the 277 lighting you get more out of it. Instead of putting, your household lighting, which might only be 110 volts, you could maybe get 10, 15 lights on a 120 volt circuit. And when you go to 277 volt, you get 25, 30 different lights. You get more power out of it. So I've gotten that 2 or 3 times, and it'll put you on your on your pockets.
So I have to worry. So you have to worry about volts.
The volts will get you.
So I don't have to worry about like watts or amps or anything like that. I just have to worry about
amps,
volts.
I think you have to worry
amps
about.
What'll kill you.
Yeah.
So if
Oh,
you're
amps will kill you.
Yeah.
All right, so I got to worry about them too.
Both of them together will kill you. There's got the voltage, depending on the scenario, the building or the house where you're working on, the voltage, then the amperage on it is the load of the whole system.
Okay.
Right.
So if you have a hot wire that's off and you touch that and touch to something else and you complete that circuit, you're gonna have all that amperage of that circuit going through your body, and that's how a lot of people got. A lot of people die from stuff.
So
like
I don't want amps either.
You don't want none
I
of
don't
that
want
stuff.
amps or volts.
So don't mess with your electrical box.
Just hire me. I'll
No,
do it
I
for
don't
you.
mess
Yeah,
with my
right.
electric.
So, and I was going to get to that.
right.
Right.
No,
so anything goes wrong, you call Rob Mander from Junior Electric.
You know what? Do we have a phone number?
Yep. 484-493-8162.
And we'll put that up on the screen as well, so that it comes around. So we have, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if you fixed your own plumbing and there was a problem,
I don't do that.
it would be problematic.
I don't fix my own plumbing.
You fix
I don't fix my own electric.
No, I
can change
understand
a light
that.
bulb.
No, my biggest concern with electric is
Burning
that,
the house down?
Well, yeah, but not realizing that you are going to burn the house down. So you fix something, you put a panel back up on it, you go to bed, and then all of a sudden you have some tremendous heat coming from it, and then all of a sudden things go up in smoke. You don't know enough, but everybody knows enough to be dangerous, is what it seems like.
My last electrical move was I tried to wire a ceiling fan in one of the kids' bedrooms, flipped the switch, sparks everywhere. I said, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
That was 25 years ago.
Now, I did change a light in our house the other day. I took a fan out and put a
look at you.
new chandelier in. Yeah.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that.
And the only reason that it was a disaster, but the only reason that it worked, and this was like a couple weeks ago, so I'm assuming there's no fire to be, is it was a perfect situation where I could take what I had in there and it all like sort of like I like clipped it
right up.
perfectly.
Yeah.
There was not. I was like, the one thing
There's
in my
always
house.
when I do it, there's always one wire.
Yeah,
that's
like,
like
what is
sort of,
that?
that's probably not important. Let me just
away,
tuck it
right?
up, tuck it up
right.
in there, and not and make sure the electricity's off before I do that. But
Yeah.
I think that's what happened with the ceiling fan. So I don't.
So let's
done with that.
Well, Rob, thanks. We always finish the show. We appreciate all your information about this. Hopefully, some other folks will look at VoTech. Rob Mander, Junior Electric. We always leave with some fun facts. So we were talking about like what's real news, fake news, real news, propaganda, whatever. So some of the biggest social media misfires of 2016. So we just crossed into 2017. So
is this, when you say misfire, this is like when somebody said something stupid on the air, or?
No, it was more like somebody would tweet something.
Because I would imagine we would be
No,
high up on that one, because we're constantly saying stupid things on the air.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I mean,
these are actual like Twitter feeds, tweets, whatever.
Okay.
So IHOP. Okay?
IHOP.
They're talking about
That's the international
House of Pancakes, right.
restaurant.
Yep, that's it. So and these are all public. They were criticized. These are not my words. These are IHOP's words, and they were talking about pancakes.
Send your letters to him.
Flat, but has a great personality. They were talking about pancakes. And they got a lot of kickback.
Because of the double entendre with regard to...
And like you don't sometimes realize the dumb things you're saying until after you say them.
So do you think that they were doing that on purpose to create
Sometimes,
buzz? Or do you think
I
that
think
the ad agency got fired?
I think all of this stuff is good for them
that's
at
true.
the end of the day.
We're talking about it.
Yeah,
So I guess
so
it is.
Stir the pot up a little bit, right?
yeah, definitely, and it gets people to look into it. I know that like during the Super Bowl, they had some stuff like go to our website and check this out.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't
It
get
crashed.
the full. Yeah,
The thing with the
it was like
84 lumber, I think,
yeah,
was the
it was like
woman walking
half
to
the
wall.
commercial to see the rest.
Yeah, and you had to go, and it crashed.
So then there was this one is really bad, and they were very apologetic of it. It was from Bloomingdale, and it was labeled the date rape ad. I don't know if you've seen this.
Okay, go ahead.
Just wait. I'm going to read to you what they wrote. Okay, so this, I think an ad agency probably did get fired. It was a man and woman, who were like clearly like there was like a frisky sort of look between the two of them.
Being romantic.
Yeah, sort of. And it was like sort of like Christmas time party, and it said, "Spike your best friend's eggnog when they're not looking." And had like a whole thing. Yeah.
With what?
Well,
that's bad advice.
Well, yeah, it's terrible advice, and it's a bad ad.
But how did that get? See, I don't understand how that got out of the boardroom.
I don't know.
What's the pitch?
And that's not, see, that's the kind of thing where you say flat but has great personality. You go, all right, like we can all deal with that, and that we're all grown up.
Well, they turn around and they say, oh, that's all, that's
yuck.
Right.
This is a little bit more serious.
Date rape is not funny.
No, and
you got to get us to the next thing because we can't go out on date rape.
Yeah, no. I purposely did. And then the other one on the BBC, one of the news anchors, I don't know if they were just practicing and like sort of like getting ready, but it went out on the air where she had mentioned that the Queen has died. And it just so happens on that day the Queen was like in the hospital for her, it's just bad timing, for her annual.
Why did she say the Queen has died? Like she just made a mistake?
I'm not sure. Like I couldn't get to that, but somehow it was said and it was broadcast over the air.
When you have a 24-second news cycle.
Well, that's the thing. And so the Queen happened to be in the hospital for her annual physical, which they all talk about because they want to. So and that goes out, and then very quickly they came back on and said
the Queen has not died.
The Queen has not died. We made a mistake. Sorry about that. And
she's still alive today.
And she's still alive today. So check out all of our past episodes at raceonmain.com. Rob Mander, thank you for being here. Junior Electric in Delaware County. We appreciate all that information, and don't forget your first responders. They are always out there working while we're home asleep. So we'll see you out on Main Street, everybody.